Okay, we're live.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome you to the regular meeting of the Milwaukie Planning Commission. Agendas and additional copies of staff reports are available on the city website at www.milwaukieoregon.gov. You may locate them by navigating to the community calendar where tonight's meeting page is posted. If you have not reviewed the agenda, please do so. It contains important information about the process. For our native lands acknowledgement, the city of Milwaukie respectfully acknowledges that our community is located on the ancestral homelands of the Clackamas people. In 1855, the surviving members of the Clackamas signed the Willamette Valley Treaty, also known as the Kalapuya Treaty, Treaty with the federal government in good faith. We offer our respect and gratitude to the indigenous people of this land.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And then rather than read a personal statement, I would rather ask that we take a moment of silence in recognition of the indigenous people that inhabited the lands of Milwaukie before our time. Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 8th, 2022 meeting. Does anyone have any corrections to make? I will entertain a motion to approve the notes as presented.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from March 8th, 2022 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. And all those opposed say nay. Carries unanimously. Thank you. Are there any informational items from staff?
Not at this time.
So this is an opportunity to comment for the audience to comment on items not on tonight's agenda. Does anyone wish to comment on an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom to indicate that you wish to make a comment. And for any audience members who have called into the meeting, please dial *9 to indicate that you wish to make a comment. Are there any indications of?
Nope. No hands raised.
We'll move on. At this point of the agenda, the Planning Commission will act as the Community Involvement Advisory Committee. I now ask staff to provide any updates.
I think last time I was here, we talked about the fact that we had the Land Use 101 training. Was that correct? Or did Vera tell you about that last time? So we had the folks here. Okay, so we had that training. And then I didn't know, I think last time Chair Losfeld had talked about possibly doing some sort of poll about whether or not folks were interested in going to the NDA meetings as representative of the CIAC. So I didn't know if you wanted to have any discussion about that. And then I believe that Commissioner Heemer also has possibly a question about attending some meetings.
Okay, well, I might defer to Chair Roosevelt when she returns to lead that discussion. And I'll offer the floor to Commissioner Heemer if you'd like to make any comments.
Yeah, so I have two. First, I was at the Island Station NDA meeting last Wednesday. That is the first meeting that I've been to that they tried to do the hybrid option. They did it simply by having a laptop. They had a small enough room. They had about 15 people live and about 6 people on the Zoom call. It seemed to work out really, really well. So kudos to Island Station for being one of the first to attempt it and try it. So good for them. What happens is, and that's my first point. My second point is that there are NDA leadership meetings, which happens once a quarter. This next one coming up is May 19th. And kind of what we do is we assign planning commissioners to committees. And I would think that if Jason Watts, who's our community development liaison, or he's not the director, but he's something like that. At any rate, he works with the NDAs as the city personnel. If he would allow it, I think it would be great if one of our CIAC members joined that meeting. So it'd be, 4 times a year or so. And we would call it kind of like a committee assignment, as we have done in the past.
And I did talk to Jason about that. Oh, sorry, Chair Edge, did you want to speak?
I was just saying, I like that idea, but please go ahead, Laura.
Sorry. I did talk to Jason about the idea, and I think that he had a little bit of concern about assigning you as a planning commission member, just because as planning commission, we want to avoid talking about actual land use processes out in the NDAs, because that's better suited to this room. But I think that there would be some openness to having us as attending as a CIAC member, with just the acknowledgement that those meetings are super packed and they have a full agenda every single time. So it would be kind of more of a sitting in on the meeting as opposed to getting kind of like a formal time to discuss or have something set aside. So if that were still something that you all were interested in doing, I think that could work.
Yeah, and if I may, Chair, I think one of the ideas of Lauren's or Chair Roosevelt's idea was to that if we each engage with an NDA, we can kind of get their pulse. But this is a way to reduce the amount of meetings or burdens on the CIAC member by taking down the amount of meetings, but yet still have a face and acknowledgement and be able to report back what they were talking about and see if there's anything that we could do to help them.
Commissioner Massey?
Yeah, this is really a question. Either Greg or staff can chime in. I guess I'm not sure I understand this. I didn't really know what was going on. So this is NDA training. Is that what I heard? Is this beyond the?
I'm sorry, you're right. I did not explain it very well. So the NDA leaders of each NDA. They send in somebody from their board, so either the president, vice president, or chair, vice chair, secretary, or treasurer, to a meeting of all of the heads once a quarter, just to kind of talk about NDA stuff, what their NDAs are doing, what kind of help they need from the city, that kind of thing. It's just a way for the city to communicate directly to the NDA leadership. And it's a regular thing that they've been doing for years, literally. And so I saw when Jason Watts sent out his Friday update, I saw that the meeting was this May 19th. And I thought, oh, you know what, that might be an easy way for the CIAC to communicate or at least hear from the NDAs and be able to report back on if there's anything we can do to support them.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I guess I didn't realize that this was going on, but I would just say that we would want to make sure that this group is okay with that, with the proviso that we're mostly listening rather than we're in the receive mode rather than the transmit mode.
Right, and I agree with that statement. I mean, you don't. I don't think that the NDA leaders wants a whole bunch of overhead on top of them, and wants more people in the room. But I think if we take the step as that we're just here to listen and to be able to report back to us as this committee And because our goal is to help them, I think that's an easy way to try to help them or keep those lines of communication open.
Have you given any thought to, is this a rotating thing amongst the commissioners, or?
If I were to make a suggestion, I would not want to be that committee member. I have a conflict of interest with the NDAs in that role because I ask for money with certain groups every year. Mm-hmm. I think that Body or even you, Massey, would be a wonderful choice for it. I think that you guys both kind of know how the NDAs go, and you're excellent to reporting back. And maybe you're the ones that have capacity to be able to handle 4 meetings a year. That would be my suggestion.
Commissioner Sherman?
Thanks, Chair Edge. I was going to ask kind of a similar question, what we were thinking about how to allocate CIAC member, and, are we allocating one? Are we all kind of agreeing to maybe share that load and rotate through, maybe absent a few people bowing out of that opportunity? And then I also wanted to just kind of hear additional thoughts on, what is kind of the reporting back to the larger CIAC? What might that look like? I don't know if notes, for example, are taken at those quarterly leadership meetings that, would then be shared back with us to kind of review, or if, the commissioner who was assigned or rotated into that role was, responsible for taking notes and sharing back. But just some of those other kind of implementation questions.
Commissioner Body.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Hemer for his recommendation. I would love to be a part of that. I can manage the 4 meetings, and then also I agree with Commissioner Sherman. If we can just outline what it is that we want to report back and just some of the expectations, and however we want to do a rotation. 4 meetings a year, I can handle all 4, so I don't mind being there. But if any other commissioners want to work out a rotation, it's I'm up for that as well.
Well, thank you for volunteering. So what I wanted to offer is that, this, in my opinion, this is the kind of thing that lends itself well to having a primary and an alternate, and perhaps both the primary and the alternate try to attend all the meetings. But, it doesn't have to be that way, every time, obviously. And then the report back, in my opinion, could be pretty quick. We just would like to have a quick update of, what was discussed, what topics were discussed, and, what kind of jumped out at you as something, perhaps of particular relevance to the Planning Commission or the CIAC in particular, since this is a CIAC assignment. That seems more appropriate. So, I think it could be, like a 90-second update, most of the time. But maybe there would be, more discussion, depending on what subject matter was discussed. So, Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think it would be really important, and I think staff kind of mentioned this as well, that we make sure that it's really clear the table is set as a CIAC member and not as a planning commissioner conversation about land use. And so I think that we just need to we want to make sure that that's very clear.
Are there any thoughts about having primary or alternate?
Well, yeah, I guess I think having a primary and alternate is a good thing. I am a little bit concerned about sending 2 people again, rather than burdening them with multiple attendees, and I think it might go smoother if one person shows up and listens and that kind of thing, rather than a couple of people showing up. Again, they got a crowded room, probably, and a crowded agenda, and I just wouldn't want them to think that there's a bunch of people hovering over
Yeah, that's a good point. Does anyone want to volunteer to be an alternate?
I'll be Adam's alternate. How about that, Adam?
I like it.
Okay.
And then, we're a quorum. Is there any, I don't think we need to take a motion on this, as long as no one, is opposed to Adam as the primary and Robert as the secondary. Laura, do you have a comment?
Yeah, and I'm just going to need to go back and talk to Jason to see if we need to do anything to formalize this. If it's not formal, we want it to be more informal. So I don't know if it's an actual assignment. So let me talk to Jason and come back to you all next month so that I'm clear about that. And then also just to be sure that, and I think you all said this before, just to be clear that our focus is on land use. That is what this commission is focused on. The CIAC is focused on land use. So some of the other things may not be as pertinent to this commission that might be talked about in the NDA. So just when you're reporting back, maybe kind of keep that lens on it. And so let me talk to Jason a little bit further and then see what our next step are, if anything. And then in the meantime, I'm assuming that Adam could go. There are meetings that are open to the public, period. So any one of you can go at any time. You're always invited. So I'm sure, Adam, that you could go in that role just as a concern, or not a concern, but as a community member who wants to know more. So I will get some information and get back to you. And Commissioner Hemer, can I answer a question? Or
I guess what I want to make sure is that the NDAs are comfortable with this as well, because it is their meeting, and we are asking a favor. So maybe if you could ask Jason to discuss it during his NDA meeting and see if there's opposition to it, which is fine. And I think what we're presenting here is that we just want to listen to see if there are any land use communication problems that we can then come back and report and that we can help solve.
okay. So, and what I will do on that note is that I would imagine that the agenda for the May meeting, I believe May is the next meeting that's coming up, is already set. So I don't know if we'll be able to get on that agenda, but I can ask him. And if we can't get on this one, then we can probably get on the next one, because I know those are usually pretty packed.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Sherman?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I appreciate a little bit of that additional kind of context, Laura, because just knowing that it is a public meeting, I think it sounds like we could send multiple people if we wanted to observe, not necessarily having to engage and transmit, as you said, Robert, but knowing I might also be personally interested in popping in occasionally. I'm glad to know that it is a public meeting and any of us kind of in our CIAC roles or even members of the public could participate in that way.
Mm-hmm. All right. I will get back to you with some information at our next meeting.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Hemer, for bringing that up. Do any CIAC members have anything else to report? Any other items? Okay. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak with the Planning Commission in their role as the CIAC? If so, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom to indicate you would like to make a comment. Or press dial *9 if you're connected by phone. Brett?
I will say while we're waiting to see if anybody has anything, I did make it to the Ardenwald NDA on Monday. So that was an enjoyable experience. There wasn't anything relevant in the CIAC world, but want to just share that out.
We don't see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We'll move on to our hearing item, the subdivision replat at 10586 and 10610 Southeast Home Avenue. Public hearing on the subdivision replat at 10586 and 10610 Southeast Home Avenue is called back to order. The purpose of this hearing is to consider application numbers R-2021-004 and VR-2021-019. The purpose of the application is to request approval for the applications associated with the subdivision replat at 10586 and 10610 Southeast Home Avenue. The applicant has the burden of proving that the application is consistent with the City of Milwaukee's zoning and subdivision ordinance, comprehensive plan, any applicable municipal code provisions, and that the proposal conforms with all of the city's applicable criteria. I now ask staff to cite the zoning ordinance section or sections where the criteria can be found.
Thank you, Acting Chair. The relevant sections are from Milwaukie Municipal Code Title 12, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places. Title 17, Land Division, including Chapter 17.12, Application Procedure and Approval Criteria, Chapter 17.16, Application Requirements and Procedures, Chapter 17.20, Preliminary Plat, Chapter 17.28, Design Standards, Chapter 17.32, Improvements. From the Zoning Code, Section 19.301, Low Density Residential Zones, including the R5 Zone, Chapter 19.500, Supplementary Development Regulations, Section 19.607, Off-Street Parking Standards for Residential Areas, Chapter 19.700, Public Facility Improvements, Section 19.911, Variances, Section 19.1006, Type 3 Review, and Chapter 19.1200, Solar Access Protection.
Thank you. All testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable substantive criteria. Failure to address the criterion or raise an issue with sufficient detail to allow Planning Commission adequate opportunity to respond to each issue precludes appeal to the City Council based on that issue. Failure to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow a response precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Any party may appeal the decision of the Planning Commission to the City Council. Persons withstanding are those who submit written comments or testify in person or via Zoom. At the close of the March 22nd hearing, the applicant proposed to revise the proposal within 7 days, allow the public 7 days to comment on the revised materials, and then provide any response within 7 days after that. The applicant requested that the hearing be closed to further public testimony, except comments received on the revised materials by April 5th. No further public testimony will be taken tonight. If additional documents or evidence are otherwise provided by any party, the Commission may, if requested, allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. Any such continuance or extension shall be subject to the limitations of the 120-day rule unless the continuance or extension is requested or agreed to by the applicant. So two of the planning commissioners were absent from the initial part of this hearing on March 22nd. Either of those commissioners are present tonight and have reviewed all of the various packet materials and watched the video of the March 22nd hearing. Do you wish to participate in the continuation of this hearing?
I would like to, note that I was absent on March 22nd and that I've reviewed all the materials that were submitted for the March 22nd meeting. I've reviewed the addendum that were also submitted, and then I reviewed all of the additional materials for this meeting and also watched a video recording of the meeting and am prepared to declare that I'm prepared to participate.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherman. And then I will re-ask the following questions for all commissioners. Does any member of the Planning Commission wish to abstain from this hearing? Any member of the Planning Commission wish to declare an actual or potential conflict of interest? Does any member of the Planning Commission wish to report on any ex parte contacts? Will any commissioner who has visited the site prior to this hearing please raise their hand? And did any of those commissioners who visited the site speak to anyone at the site or note anything different from what is indicated in the staff report for this application? No. So does any member of the audience wish to challenge the participation of any member of the Planning Commission? And to do so, you would raise your hand in Zoom or dial *9. Brett?
Not seeing any hands.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission to hear this matter? Again, raise your hand in Zoom or dial *9.
No hands.
Thank you. So let's proceed to the staff report presentation.
All right, thank you, Chair. Let me share my screen. All right. Good evening, Acting Chair Edge, Commissioners. Brett Kelver, Senior Planner with the city, here to lead us back through this continued hearing for the 8-lot subdivision replat at 10586 and 10610 Southeast Home Avenue. This is a continuation from March 22nd. And a quick overview of the proposal. This is for the 2 subject properties are relatively large, located in the Hector Campbell neighborhood, adjacent just to the west of the Mission Park subdivision. And the proposal was to create 8 lots. There are 3 existing houses on the 2 properties. And so 3 of the lots would capture the 3 of the existing houses. The other 5 lots would be vacant and redevelopable. The primary portion of the application package is a variance request for 2 of the lots, lot 1 and 2. I've circled them on the drawing in the figure here. 1 and 4 at the north and south ends of the project along Home Avenue. They have similar requests for variances for the lot width and lot area. And those requests are both related to accommodating the existing physical development on the site. The project does also include for fire access, for meeting a fire access requirement, an extension of Harrison Street from its current terminus within the Mission Park subdivision west to Home Avenue. As was discussed in the staff report, the proposal does not include really any applicable approval criteria related to the question of street connection. Rather, the applicant was in a position of needing to provide some kind of fire access for all of the lots. And there were several options for that, as was discussed in the previous staff report. The applicant decided to propose a dedication of right-of-way to make a through street connection. Originally, it was proposed as 2-way for vehicle traffic and kind of a Woonerf or low volume street style with pedestrians, bicycles, and vehicles sharing the narrower connection between lots 2 and 3. In response to the public testimony received leading up to and at the March 22nd hearing, the applicant exercised their option to, they proposed to slightly revise the proposed street connection, making it 1-way for vehicle traffic, so allowing westbound vehicle traffic and still accommodating bicycle and pedestrian facilities. That was the reason for allowing additional time for
Brett, it seems your audio has fallen out.
Commissioner Sherman, did you intend to have your hand raised? Okay.
I was pointing out what Justin did. It also looks like their video might have cut out as well.
Yeah, it looks like we lost the connection from Brett.
Does anybody have the power to?
Are we back?
Yes.
Okay. If something happened, we lost our Zoom connection. Amazing. Okay. Let me reshare. Okay. All right. Not sure quite where I dropped out, but I was just noting that the applicant revised the proposal slightly with respect to the configuration of that street connection, proposing instead of 2-way vehicle traffic to allow simply 1-way vehicle traffic westbound and still accommodating bicycle and pedestrian traffic on the connection. The bulk of this request and the area where the Planning Commission has discretion is related to the variance requests for lots 1 and 4. As I mentioned before, they both are not meeting the lot width and lot area standards. And as was discussed in the March 22nd staff report and outlined in the findings, the rationale for the variance requests and why staff believe they're supportable relates almost entirely to the fact that they're accommodating existing development and kind of making the best case for doing that to maintain as well as possible the existing required setbacks and to allow for the project to achieve the minimum density requirement of providing a minimum of 8 units. So staff's analysis of this was that all of the applicable criteria for variance for those 2 features, lot width and lot area, were met for both of the lots. And so kind of in summary, in response to the revised proposal from March 22nd, I've made a few small revisions to the findings and the conditions to reflect the change, to kind of where appropriate, to note where certain, the pedestrian facility shifted maybe from the north to the south, and just capturing some of those factual things related to the revisions provided by the applicant. So there are revised findings and conditions of approval recommended for you, and that's the staff recommendation, is to adopt those. You have the option of making additional modifications if you think it's important to continue the hearing for your own deliberation and decision. That's an option as well. Or if you direct staff with some significantly revised findings for denial, that's another option as well. So that's all I have for the staff presentation. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the commissioner? So could you just again clarify that, Brett, because the discussion of the roadway was kind of a hot topic at the last hearing, and I just want to clarify that there are, from the report, there's no approval criteria that address the design or style of roadway. That connection is required.
Yeah, that's correct. The requirement, as I noted earlier, is for the applicant to provide sufficient fire access to all of the lots. And in this case, because there's existing development on the subject properties, the city's ability to require a full street dedication, which is what we would have preferred and would have done if the lots were vacant, we were limited in that regard. So the issue really is one that is beyond, kind of essentially beyond the zoning and the land division codes with respect to how the applicant has chosen to provide fire access. And the city engineer has reviewed the proposal and confirmed that it is acceptable with respect to the city's public works standards.
Okay, so just again, it's really outside the scope of our authority to really discuss that at all during our deliberations tonight. I just wanted to clarify that, so thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Are we then ready to move into deliberations? As the record is already closed, so we can just move straight into deliberation. Would anyone like to start us off?
I'll go if that's
I'm sorry,
okay.
Just one quick question for Justin. The record is closed. Do I need to close the hearing as well, or before we start deliberation?
No, you're fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead, Commissioner Hemer.
I am fine with the variance of the 2 lots itself. This is not uncommon for us to do, to be able to get some development. We have also stressed, I think, too, that we know that smaller lots produces more affordable homes as well, just by size, that they would be smaller in scale, which would, on an economic term, make them relatively less priced than the larger homes. So I am okay with this. And I know that we're not allowed to talk about it, but what I would like to say is that I'm excited about the connectivity for these neighbors to Mission Park. Not only do they have a convenience store that will be right next door to them that they could go use, but it also makes them closer to Homewood Park, which would be a great place for their kids to play instead of the street.
Thank you, Commissioner Hemer. And again, I just want to caution the commissioners about deliberating on matters that aren't part of the approval criteria. So, thanks again for your comments, Commissioner Hemer. Does anyone else want to go next?
I'll jump in. I think having missed the meeting on the 22nd, I maybe have a slightly more detached perspective on this from you all in terms of being able to kind of the previous hearing and everything. And I think, staying narrowly focused on the question of those lot widths, I agree with many of the things that Commissioner Hemer said. And, with regard to some of those questions about the street, I would just maybe we can be a little bit more careful in the future about even asking those questions in the package for the commission, so as to not set expectation with the community member that some of these things may or may be in scope when in fact they might not be. So I'm happy to move forward with this as is, would just say to kind of any members of the community interested in some of the connectivity issues, this body will be probably updating the transportation system plan in 2023. And that is a place where you could engage in some of these conversations. So want to just share that as well. But I'm happy with where we are and can support this.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherman. Does anyone want to go before I do? Okay, so I'll jump in. Yes, I've reviewed the findings and conditions of approval. They do reflect, the evidence in the record, and I am prepared to approve this tonight. I know that's, disappointing to community members who had voiced some concerns, and I really just wanted to echo what Commissioner Sherman just said. Really it is, the transportation system plan, and really all of our long range planning is an opportunity for the community to engage in, developing city policy, and for, ultimately being able to participate in the development of city code from that policy. And then the public processes from the Planning Commission to the City Council for having public hearings to adopt, those policies and those code amendments. All along the way, it is, residents and businesses, and community members, stakeholders of the city of Milwaukie who are contributing to these processes and, and ultimately adopting these codes. And so, it's, I understand it feels like, in some of these cases, you may not be being heard. And it may feel like the city is, working against the people of Milwaukie, but, the city is the people of Milwaukie, and the people of Milwaukie help the city to write the code and adopt the code that, it ultimately gets implemented. And so I would encourage everybody to, take the opportunity, when possible, to participate in those public processes for the policy development, for the code development, for the long range planning. It's all very important. And by the time that we get to these land use applications and, due process under law comes into effect, we have to follow the law that's in place when the application shows up. And that's what's fair. And so if the law is not, what we have for city code isn't working out, then we need to, make sure we're getting more people involved in the development of that code. So again, I know this might feel disappointing to the community members in that neighborhood. But this ultimately does meet all the criteria. And again, I'm prepared to approve this tonight. Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve R 2021-004 and adopt the revised recommended findings and conditions of approval found in attachments 1 and 2, respectively.
Motion by Commissioner Hemer. Do I have a second?
I second.
And second by Commissioner Sherman. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Just,
Commissioner Sherman?
Sorry, one final thing on discussion. I think it's also fair to let the record show I do not believe we received a single comment about the issue of the lot widths. In my review of the materials and previous public hearing, I don't believe we received any comment in opposition to that.
That's correct. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, last call for any discussion before call for questions. Okay, so all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 And all those opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you. So let's see, applications R-2021-004 and VR-2021-019 are approved unanimously. If anyone wishes to appeal this decision to the City Council, you can complete an application stating the grounds for your appeal within 15 days of the mailing of the notice of the decision. Please see planning staff for details. Do commissioners have any other items for discussion? Oh, wait, should that be staff? I think I had the script wrong here. There's other business and updates, and it's the same line under both. So, okay, is there any other business from staff?
Yeah, I just wanted to share the exciting news that we're getting really close with the City Council on adopting the parking and the housing code. That's going to be read the second time on May 3rd. And so if all goes well on May 3rd, then that will be in effect 1 month later. So we're almost at the finish line. And then for the tree code was actually adopted a few weeks ago and will be effective on May 19th. So thanks for all of your work getting through that and just spending so much time with that code. It's much appreciated. And then also I wanted to thank everyone that was able to attend the joint meeting with the City Council a week ago. I really appreciate everyone being there. And that's all I have from staff.
Thank you. I was sorry to miss that meeting last week. Commissioner Hemer, I saw your hand go up first.
Yeah, just a question, because I've actually had neighbors ask me this. I know that they have to do a second reading or whatever whenever the tree code gets into effect. Do they still have to work out the backside of that, the planning, the forms, all that kind of stuff, or does it just start on the 19th?
No, we're there in the heavy process of getting all of that stuff sorted out and available for folks. So we're building the forms right now. Natalie and her team are.
So the 19th is the official start date?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, the second reading is only required for the housing and parking code because there was not a unanimous vote. And so the tree code passed unanimously, so it has a double reading on the night of passage, and it had a 30-day effective date.
Thank you. Commissioner Sherman, you're up next.
Yeah, thanks. Laura, I was curious. I know that it was just last week we had the joint Planning Commission and City Council meeting, but if you have any updates for us on the status of our TGM grant fund, our transportation system plan.
I have a pre-meeting with the folks at ODOT and the TGM folks. Our team internally has a meeting on the 26th to get prepped for the packages that are coming in from the consultants to do the work. So it seems like within the next month or so, of course, changes all the time. I always put the caveat on there that we will actually have a consultant selected, and then we kind of have to go through the whole contracting bit, and then it goes off to the Department of Justice for 3 or 4 months before it comes back to us. So, but we have made progress. So this is good news.
Well, congratulations on that. I know sometimes those things can move glacially. So congrats on that. Looking forward to seeing that move forward.
Thank you. Me too. Me too.
Excellent. Well, that's good news. Okay, now do commissioners have any other items for discussion? Commissioner
Hemer. Last time we had a really short meeting, everybody noticed that I wasn't in the room. I want you to notice who wasn't in the room this time that we had a short meeting, so you can't just blame me. And 2, I want to remind everybody that the plant sales are coming up on Mother's Day weekend. The Milwaukie Garden Club at the Milwaukie Museum, Friends of the Letting Library at Milwaukie Floral. You have to pre-register for that, so go to the Friends of the Library website for that. And then the Ardenwald JCB NDA is on the 22nd. So, and with that as well, happy Mother's Day to all of you that have mothers in your lives. And thank you, mothers, for being so wonderful, for raising such wonderful people that I get to be around every day.
Commissioner Sherman?
I would say that these updates aren't nearly as exciting as Greg's, but maybe I'll drone on for another 2 hours and 45 minutes just for the heck of it. No, but more seriously, wanted to just remind folks that the budget committee is meeting on Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning, kind of with the city manager, Ober, kind of unveiling the proposed budget for review from the budget committee. And I know, folks might roll their eyes or fall asleep at the idea of a city budget, but, the city budget is also in very many ways, kind of a moral document that embodies our values. And so want to just encourage other members of the commission as well as members of the public to, this is an important process to tune into. And I'm excited to see what's in there, especially in the transportation world. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherman. Anybody else? Okay, I guess we'll kick into our forecast for future meetings.
All right. So for May 10th, we don't have anything on the agenda. So you get the evening off on May 10th. And then back on May 24th, we've got 2 hearing items. We've got the Southeast 58th Drive continuance. And then we also have a CSU. It's a modification to the Milwaukie High School CSU. So those are the 2 things that we've got coming up.
Cool. Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn just to make sure it's the shortest meeting.
Thanks, Greg. That's a motion. Do I hear a second? Second from Robert. Thank you. All those in favor? Is you going to say aye? Aye. Looks unanimous. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Bye.
Yeah.
Take care.